much for joining us. I think we've got a really quite a nice session to end off the year today. As discussed, it's going to be combined with just some general town hall topics, and then you'll see Matt Jones from Site Gurus has also joined us, which was really nice, and he'll be going through some of the e-commerce workshop stuff and discussions with you as well. So let me go quickly. Yeah, so as we explained, we're going to split the session into two parts. So we're going to focus on the standard kind of town hall items. So we're going to be looking at like Studio version 2. We're going to be looking at Luke's going to be taking you through the official release date. He's also going to be talking through some of the additional design improvements. So this is not just Studio. This is specific to the whole product as well. Also just talking about key dates for support over the holidays, so coming in the next week or so. And then we'll have an open floor as usual. And yeah, definitely share any Christmas-related topics with us, and we can have a good chat about what everyone's up to for Christmas as well. And then, yeah, the second part, I think, it's definitely something that's really worthwhile, as I think we've had in previous sessions, where we can sit down and really, as it says here, deep dive into all things e-commerce. So we're going to have that session. We're going to talk about just everything e-commerce. We're going to talk about all the different kind of challenges and ideas for improvements. And then also just talk about what key features are missing and finish off just what are the priorities and just the roundup of the workshop itself. Okay. So yeah, very, very exciting. Some nice stuff to go through, and just to finish off the year. I'm going to hand over to you, Luke. I think you're going to start with that. Let me shoot.
Yeah, thanks, Colin. Yeah, welcome everybody, and whoever's watching the recording. I'm going to try and make this brief because we have no idea how long we might talk about e-commerce for. We're here to help and discuss it, but I'll quickly run through Studio, UI design changes, and just Christmas related support stuff. So let's pull up my screen. So we have released Studio V2. Well, let's start the other way around. We've made some fairly simple UI design changes just to clean up the product itself. So portal, admin, everywhere really, just to get some of the padding out of the way that was taking up a lot of real estate, especially if you were using Studio as an example. You should find there's a lot more space now. There's definitely still some things we'd like to do there, and I think some feedback is very welcome in terms of improvements. I think maybe we could add a little bit more padding back in, just a touch, if people agree. But it's all fairly minor things. It's not functionality related. It's just trying to make it look better and easier to use. So I'll show you that quickly, and then we'll dive into Studio. And a key part of Studio is how we've linked that up to user roles as well. So I'll quickly show you how you can manage that. Just to be clear, that it's turned off by default for existing sites, and you have the ability to turn it on. So we try and make sure there are no sort of surprise changes. So yeah, I'll pull up my screen. Can you see my screen okay? Hopefully you can. So I'm now logged in. I'm going to show you both sides, sort of taking user roles into account. So I'm now logged in as just a sort of client user. That's on the client restricted level. Let's just go and have a look at that from this side. Sorry, let me try and pull this across. So if we go back to portal, I'm now logged in as the agency login, and we can see that we've got user roles here. So you'll see generally, I'll just quickly walk through it, the update to the sidebar. So we typically, I don't know how you guys normally had it, but you had the ability to close the sidebar down. It didn't look fantastic, and took up a bit more space than needed. So you've now got the ability to have it open or closed, and well, the same ability. I think you can, especially when in Studio, it's quite nice to have it like this, but totally up to you guys, just depending on your screen resolution, how much space you need. So main other changes is just that everything's a little bit smaller, and giving it a little bit more space. If you notice anything at all that either doesn't seem quite right, or you would ideally like change, then just let us know, and we'll review all of those. But
yeah, can you give us your little arrow? Because where we're branded as Siteglide, we've still got the logo very small when it condenses down. So just there. Yesterday.
Well, this one here.
Yes, yeah, we haven't got that one. We've got your full logo that just goes tiny on it, so just looks a bit more
Right.
Yeah,
Thanks, Nick. Yeah. Those kind of things, and trying to check everything. But yes,
it's the
we will
most
jump on
important
that.
thing you'll develop this year, I should think. It's
Yeah. Yeah, good. Cool. Okay, well, yeah, we'll get that updated, but hopefully generally it's mainly just simple UX changes, and you shouldn't notice anything, any breaking changes or anything like that. But yeah, I'll quickly now show Studio, and we can always come back to that if you guys have any questions. So if I go into a site, well, if I go in here and go to user roles, we're just using a few standard user roles and then some custom ones, client restricted. If you come into that, you'll see that on the right-hand side for, where are we? Studio, there's one turned on by default for client restricted, and then all the rest are turned off. So you now have the ability to control whether people have access to control things in structure. So whether they can insert items, insert layouts and blocks, whether they can move things around, copy and delete things in the kind of structure area, which is like full sections. And then finally, whether they have access to styles and doing all sorts of things like backgrounds, classes, that kind of stuff. They're more building features than editing. Background is probably the one you'd want to turn on potentially, and typography. Yeah, so we've got the user set up with that role. Let's just show that quickly. So client 001 as a test is now set up with the role of client restricted. And then if we go across to here, you will see that we've got, I'm logged in as client 001. If we go into one of those sites, and go to a page, and go to Studio. Sorry, one more thing to show before I do that quickly. You can, on a per site level, we go into that site, you can go to the configuration tab, and from here you can decide which version of Studio to show. So I've got it set on V2. If we switch that back, you'd see the old version with the right hand side button to insert new layouts, and I've upgraded this site to be version 2. So if we just switch back across, and you'll see now that this is the new version of Studio. Again, that sort of full width, one of the reasons we did it was just to give you that a little bit more space, now that we've got like the 2 sidebars here, just so you've got as much room as possible for the main content. And you'll see that it shows the structure, so you can click here and see sort of where you are, but you can't really do anything with it other than turn things on and off. You can't move them around, you can't delete, and you can't duplicate. And then on the right hand side, as an example, you only see properties, so you only have the ability to sort of add a title tag or something like that. If you click on the background here, you cannot change that background image, and that's by choice. That's something you can control. They can come here and they can manage images using File Manager as normal. So it's basically for content editing, image editing, and that's about it really with that level of control. If you then come back to the roles area, you would be able to, I won't edit this one, but as I say, you'd be able to add on each of these individually if you wanted to. So if we quickly just jump into a site as a sort of full user, you'll see that within here on the same page, I've now got the ability to do this whole style area. So got typography, you can sort of switch through and use all the different features that we've showed you a couple of times before. Got full control over everything in classes, but you can turn each one of these off and on if you wanted to, depending on what access you want to give. And you can do things like background images by this bit here. And yeah, you can move things around on the left-hand side. I think that's it mainly. You've got this blocks button here that you can let people insert either layouts from Site Builder or your own, or these 3 sort of block elements that you can add, which again, you can turn off just by adding that blocks button on in user roles. Any questions at all?
Are there plans to roll that into the different content areas around the site?
So you mean like templates and headers and footers?
Yeah, I guess those would be the core ones, yeah. But then potentially also into if we've got full text editing on a web app, for example, or full text editing, but a full editor on the web app.
So what we plan to do, so phase one was get this, basically do enough to replace the old one and make it better. Phase two is trying to deal with dynamic content. We might have something on here that's dynamic.
So did you also mean like a rich text custom field on a in a web app data?
Yeah.
Does that make sense, Luke?
I think so, but I mean, do you mean then if you come to a web app?
Yeah.
Would you mean editing it visually here, editing the content?
Yeah, potentially.
Yeah. So there's so much that we want to do with the new version of Studio. Our thinking at the moment is being able to, from a global area called Studio, rather than going into a specific page, being able to open up a specific file and edit that. So yes, it would make sense to add it into each of the areas once we make the functionality work for that type of content, but also have one global place that you can go to and open up whatever you want to. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Lots of big plans there. Go for it, Matt.
I guess you might also want that to be a bit more restricted because you might not, because the great thing about the new Studio is you can have all these different layers of divs and it's really like nested. And maybe in your rich text, you want to be able to strip it down so you're really just on one level a bit to try and force them to keep it simple.
Yeah, potentially. Yeah.
I can see the
purpose of a web app. Yeah.
So what we showed last time in the Figma design was eventually getting to a point where, showed it very briefly, was being able to manage dynamic content here. So you can define what that content is, get your field values and stuff and be able to put it in here. So that's one feature we have planned, but yeah, there's all sorts of things we can do in terms of editing just specific items or anything really. We've got to get our heads around the logic of that, the technical, how you render the content or choose not to, and all those kind of things. But yeah, we want to definitely use Studio as much as we can now across the product. Something, I think it was mainly Devon that raised it, but I think it's been discussed quite a bit, is just consistency. And he sort of raised that the rich text editor in web apps was different to old Studio. And yeah, we would like to try and align it. So either we could potentially put the rich text editor or bring the rich text editor from web apps into here to improve this offering, or put Studio into web apps. And again, maybe make that an option for you.
Yeah, cool.
But yeah, I think the best thing to do,
much nicer.
Good. I mean, the proof is in the pudding, I guess. We need people. One reason we wanted to get it out was if we left it in alpha, it's a little bit hard for you to have any customers testing it. So what we've done is we put it in admin. We've given you the control to hide and show per site. And the best thing to do would probably either have copies of sites or copies of a couple of pages, and just start playing around with it and see how well it works on different sites and see how customers get on, that kind of stuff. I would still be a little bit careful until you're happy with it in terms of just rolling it out for customers and not testing it first. Because obviously it's very hard to make sure it works for every single type of page or type of code and content. So it just needs a little bit more feedback, I would have thought, potentially. So just to clarify that, for now, if you're not sure, then you do nothing because it's set to the old version of Studio. If you want to test it out, you just go into a site, go to configuration, set it to version 2, and that will apply for everybody across the whole of that site. So maybe either take a copy of a site or do it on the staging site first, get a feel for it, and just reach out if you have any challenges or anything like that.
I think I'm right in saying, Luke, that new sites get V2 by default. is where
That's correct. Yeah. So yeah, a great way to do that then would be to go to Marketplace, pick one of the template sites and just play around with those. But we've obviously done a lot more testing with these templates because well, we've got them and that's the way we're going from our end. We just have no idea whether it works with, you know, very, very niche CSS or frameworks or anything like that. So just let us know. There shouldn't be any problems, but it's hard to know what we don't know. Good. Yeah, so you've got all sorts of editing functionality. Again, probably best to just play around with it, but you've got the ability to do standard sort of formatting. And then with links, I don't know if people have seen this, but let's say you wanted to put a link on a word, press the button, and then over here, you've now got the ability to control what it links to. So you can either do an external URL, an email address, which will do the email to and a subject, or the important one, probably the really valuable one, is pages, web apps and modules. So it'll give you a list of all of your content and you can pick what thing you want to link to.
I hadn't realized that was in there. Thank you. That's
no worries. So everybody gets access to that because that's the default properties one. Obviously, you only need extra user roles if you want people to do design and editing, sort of building. Yeah, hopefully we've been thought it through, built it the correct way, and it should be a big improvement on the old one. But there's definitely a lot more to come, and the best way to do that is with your feedback, really. So, looking forward to hearing more.
Cool.
Any questions for anybody else? Any feedback?
Just one little feedback about the UI changes.
Sure.
I really like them. I think you also changed font and icons, right?
Yes, some of the icons, yes.
Yeah, and the font looks everything looks nicer to me. Just a little comment on my screen. As you said, like you might put a little bit padding back in. There
Yeah.
are some spaces where it's like I think it's just missing margin and padding. Like
Definitely bottom padding is missing, and that's an issue that we need to fix here. But we also think maybe this is a little bit too tight, and we might increase that. Does that make sense?
yeah, like that's a good example. Like just my personal thing, right? If you have release date, I would put a little bit margin on top of release date just to
Yes.
keep it apart from waiting, right? And like
It's mainly that bottom padding is missing is the problem.
yeah, exactly.
So each of these should have. So if you go back to dashboard, we're just missing the bottom padding that would normally be on there, and we'll fix that within a few days, I'm sure.
And on my screen on Studio, the UI elements are really getting really small. The fonts are getting really small.
Okay.
Same also with some buttons, like just for an example, eCommerce, products, and then categories, add category.
Okay. I can't do that from here, but yeah, we'll have a look at that. So yeah.
It's that kind of button you have there on the image, select image. These buttons are sometimes a bit small, but
right. Okay. I think if you notice something, do feel free for anybody to fire across a quick screenshot or something like that. That's always the most helpful, I guess.
Sure.
So many different screen resolutions out there and different setups, so it'd be great to see it.
You're right. I appreciate that. Thanks.
But yeah, there's definitely, I mean, we've tried to get this out as quickly as we could without while still getting it right. But I think we can make some little improvements, and any feedback will really help us do that.
It's already much. I find it very nice, like that. You say subtle improvements. I think it looks much better.
Fantastic. Thanks. If for those Windows users, the font wasn't loading too well until yesterday. Hopefully you notice a decent improvement there, because this anti-aliasing on Windows is quite different. So we've hopefully improved that now.
Looks good.
Good. Yeah. Any other questions or feedback? Cool. Okay. Well, I think given that we're going to go through eCommerce, I'll probably leave that there. If anybody thinks of anything, just shout. But definitely a case of having a play around with it and giving us some feedback. Right. Let me just check if there's anything else quickly. The main other thing would just be around Christmas coming up. So normally we try and give you a period of time where it'd be sort of critical support only. But this year we're pretty confident that there's various people off at different times and available. So obviously key holiday dates in terms of actual Christmas, New Year, we'll sort of do our normal sort of critical support. If there's something absolutely critical, and like we'll always be keeping an eye out and jump on it if we can. And otherwise, between those dates, we'll be trying to support as close to normal as possible. Just might be different people around and different people off on different days. Any questions around that? It's normally quite a daunting thing, but we've never really had any issues over that period. That's it normally runs pretty smoothly, I feel. But any feedback?
We've never needed support during that period, so
No, you've mentioned it now, though, haven't you? You mentioned it.
I'm touching a cheap laminate work surface, so that's I'm safe. So I've ruined it for everyone. Sorry.
You make it sound like you're going to give us a fire drill and false alarm test us.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hopefully not. Yeah. If something's on fire, hopefully I won't know about it.
We did have somebody's SSL go down on Christmas Eve one year. That was a fun one. Just that the SSL expired, so that wasn't too much fun. But no, generally don't have any issues. But yeah, as always, we'll be here as much as possible and offer critical support on those main days. Good. Okay. Before we dive into e-commerce, which again, no idea how long that might take us, and obviously if people need to drop off, that's not a problem. But we're here to answer any questions and go through stuff. But before that, any sort of other questions, feedback, anything to do with the upcoming time off? But over to you guys. No lists.
At this point, I have nothing to say.
Wow.
I'm saving your free e-commerce.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I don't think there's anything else to mention, so we can just dive into it. And if anybody has any questions at the end, I mean, obviously for anybody who doesn't stay or doesn't get to the end of the recording if you're watching it, yeah, it's been this year has absolutely flown by, but I think we've hopefully made some good improvements across the product with things like user roles and now the studio improvements. And we've got, really excited about what we can do next year. I'm looking forward to working with you all then. So for any that I don't speak to before, we hope you have a great bit of time off, rest up a bit, and see you in the new year. But for now, let's jump into e-commerce. In the last town hall, which was actually only 3 weeks ago, so that's why it feels so quick. John and you, Nick, you brought up e-commerce again, admittedly. It's been talked about a lot.
That's a constant theme for the past 2 years, or 3 years, however long it's been.
Yeah, but I mean, it's a very valid point that we need to be able to. You can't necessarily go out trying to take over and beat the likes of Shopify, but we do need to offer a certain level of feature set and capabilities. Yes, we always focus on flexibility, and we always want that to be a USP, but we don't want it to be an excuse. So we want to give you the right features out of the box and make sure that you can do it. So it's been really helpful. So after that call, after that last town hall, where you sort of raised that, John, we had a call with John and Nick from Website Success and talked through their main e-commerce things. And in that town hall, we kind of all agreed that some sort of e-commerce workshop would be a good next move as well, so that everybody can kind of raise any questions and that kind of stuff. So we've decided to add it onto this town hall. In future, we might split those out when we've got more time and organize them so that we can just do a workshop whenever suits people, really. But I think we've got a few things that we can reel off and as prompts and to discuss, including the items that we went through with John and Nick. But really, also, it's an open floor for people to kind of raise the things they're struggling with or any features they'd like to see. So I have no particular preference which way round we do it. Does anybody want to start with anything pressing, or should we maybe list the kind of the ones we'd already been talking about?
I've got one to add to the list.
Okay.
Which I can't believe I didn't mention this the other day. So what we quite urgently need is product filtering.
Yeah.
Insofar as, yes, I know we can filter product, but we actually need to create a little system where we can, might be the best. Can you bring up a website? If you go to Wiggle,
yeah, sure. I think I will go through your list as well, actually, Nick. Probably after this one.
Yeah, I mean, I just completely forgot to put this one on the list, which is hugely remiss of me. It's a major thing that I think can be implemented relatively easily, and will it'll be quite a big feature that allows us to do a lot more.
Yeah, something I should have said is I've got Matt with me, who on the Site Gurus side of things helps with projects and helping agencies get the most out of the platform, and he's also working on e-commerce specifically to try and improve the demo site side of things and improve the kind of core feature set. So he's got a bit of a demo he can show of where we're up to with that, and I think it does have some sort of category and filtering in there, but I think we'll go through your one first, Nick, if you like. Sorry, Matt.
Yeah, Nick, did you mean front end or back end filtering?
Well, it would be both, but from the front end point of view, what we kind of need to do is, so if you click on cycle, for example, and then just to the mega menu, and then under bike parts, and then wheels and tires would be a good one to go for. Just click on that. So effectively what we need is the filtering. So what you've got here is obviously you've got category filtering, which is fine. We can do that, no problem. But then as you scroll down, what you can do is then create what we need to be able to do is create sections, in this case, discipline, brand, those kind of elements, and make them filterable. So we can then create a list effectively in the back. And it is kind of like a bit of a categorization, but different insofar as how it would be. So we effectively need those, almost the tab for filters where people can build their own filters. So it might not be an entire category. The category might just be tires, but being able to then filter and put in specific things like tubeless tires, non-tubeless tires, road tires, mountain bike tires, and things that aren't kind of enough to make it a category, but are something people would want to search by. And we've got a site in build at the moment, and they make puppets. And what actually we didn't realise is they're filtering, just because we were demoed the wrong products, and some of the products you can filter by the puppets on hair colour and all kinds of different things like that. So yeah, it's just having that ability where it wouldn't be a category. So yeah, for example, the colour and the tyre width, you wouldn't want it as a category, but it's quite important to be able to filter down to those products. I mean, Wiggle obviously is a huge site with millions of products on, but even for some of the other sites that we're working on, being able to filter at a level, obviously things like price, not a problem. We've got that data already in the platform. We can build those things already, but it's just being able to add in a filtering grouping, say tire width, and then taking the relevant things and adding to it from there.
Would it be being able to do it by attributes as well?
Potentially, but we've already got that data. We can sort by attributes without any difficulty.
Okay.
Just the other things that wouldn't be a category, wouldn't get themselves to an attribute, because it's not a different product. But just being able to flag them as that. So yeah, there may be some crossover. So you might have an attribute that is a color for a particular product, but you might also want to just search by hair color as a subsection of the attribute.
So I guess it would be a certain field type in the web app settings and where it's effectively a list of options and being able
We're
to
not
pull that
web app.
data out.
This would be, I mean, unless
product,
it's about creating it as a web app. But yeah, it's just really a tab on the product itself, where we can then decide, right, it needs the colors, it needs the wheel size, it needs the tire width, and then there's a kind of checkbox list which ones we need to we want to include within there.
Okay.
Yeah. I've built I've worked on a site through SiteGurus, which sort of does a similar thing to this, and we used custom fields on the product, which were data sources to say we might have like efficiency rating data source, and there would be some options for different efficiency rating. But that works because all of the products were a certain kind of product that all had an efficiency rating. And your difficulty on Wiggle is you don't want something else to have a tire width, because it's not a tire. And
so you need each product to have its just to show these are, or each category effectively. And I think we can, in terms of laying it out in the right place, we can, my fear is we can do it via Liquid. But it's just a case of assigning that particular product to these particular kind of filter requirements, and then suggesting which filters it actually, which kind of elements it has within that particular filter item.
Yeah, so short term with that project you've got now, you could probably still do it with custom fields, drop downs, but I totally see the long term UI benefit for the client.
Yeah, and it is the key thing is you could probably build it with web apps as well, but it's just actually the back end UI of that needs to be it would benefit from being a bit neater.
So you're saying you don't think this is the right way to do it, where you'd have like an array of options?
No, because what you'd really need to do, because you'd have to go and create it for every product in that case, and field sets would actually, I think, be more appropriate as we just said. But you need to be able to kind of choose, right, these are the relevant filter groups, and then choose the sub filters within there that apply to that particular product. And then potentially have the functionality when you're on the product to add another one. If you've got a product that, if you've got red, green, and black as colours, and then you need to add a silver in there or something to be able to do that. So it's a little bit, and it's probably one of those things that do a phase one of the basics of getting them up, getting them up there, and even editing them centrally somewhere, but then bringing that functionality into to actually themselves. But I think custom field sets will be a short-term way that we can the client we're kind of working with at the moment, it's not overly complicated there. There aren't, something like Wiggle would have thousands of different options, but luckily the one we're dealing on is probably a couple of dozen, so it's not too bad.
So we're thinking of an e-commerce specific thing like custom field sets that's a little bit just more specific, and it's essentially like, I don't know how you call it other than attributes, but something like that, where you can define.
It's kind of a hybrid between attributes and categories almost.
But
the reason it's not an attribute is it's not a choice. It's just information about that product, but it's information about the product that is in a really structured way that allows filtering by it.
And just thinking aloud, is it not the difference between having this turned on and off? Is it not a category without its own detail page?
The thing that you'd want to do, you want to create a category and then kind of lock the items. So within the category, obviously with the category, you put items into a category, but actually what we want to do is kind of almost have a predefined list that's available for that item. So in terms of functionality, in terms of how it would be built, it would be pretty similar. But it does need to be, I think, within the
Sure. The only reason I mentioned that is we built categories to be global so that you could bring in different types of data, and I think that was a good move. My worry is if we build something specifically for e-commerce, do we then find we've limited ourselves? So it's a tricky one.
Probably the thing for us to do is take a look at custom field sets and categories, see where we get to, see what the challenges are. Because this is completely remiss of me, because this only came up it came up in snagging, the site's virtually there. It came up in snagging. Said, oh, where are the filters? And they just hadn't come across in their database. So we hadn't seen them. The product we looked at didn't have anything to filter on. So this is one of those things that got missed in that specking phase. But yeah, we'll have a look at custom field sets and categories. See what we can do, and then possibly from there. But I think it's more to do with the back end. I think we'll be able to crack it using that for this particular site, but then the back end user interface to give people, kind of our clients control of that easily against the product might be. And I appreciate you can do categories within there, but yeah, we'll see how we get on with it. I think.
Sounds good.
Do you guys use GraphQL like related records?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so you will be able to filter by custom field sets if you need to.
Yeah. Jay, be able to configure that. I'd like to say yes, I do, but that one's beyond me these days. Cool. Thank you.
So maybe the best thing to do now quickly is, Matt, if you're happy and ready to quickly demo where you're up to on demo site and e-commerce improvements. And then if we quickly run through the list that we've talked about already with you guys, John and Nick, and then everybody's kind of up to speed. And then from there, I no doubt we'll probably jump into some of those topics, get feedback from people, ideas, and then add to the list effectively. I think the aim for us is ideally to get a consensus of the most urgent things, the most the most critically missing things or improvements that need to be made. Make sure that we've heard everybody and got the full list, and then we can go away and sort of tweak or add to our priority list and roadmap if needed. While also hopefully in this call fixing or helping people solve a challenge if we can. So if you've got any immediate things that we can just either say can be done with GraphQL or can be done with Liquid, then we'll do our best to help you in this session as well. Matt, has that given you a couple of minutes to get ready?
Yeah.
Keep filling.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not used to doing this kind of demo, so let me know if I go too fast or too slow. But yeah, the idea was we've been working on the new sort of theme for Site Builder, software design system, and for a long time we've wanted to get e-commerce into Site Builder somewhere, and we've never quite had the right designs. So we've kind of aimed to take inspiration from certain like sites that we like and e-commerce sort of best practice that's kind of consensus that we find lots of different providers are all offering that same design. So we like, can we incorporate that sort of consensus in? I'm just trying to get one of each kind of e-commerce layout done nicely like that. We also wanted, I mean, when I'm building sites through Site Gurus, and we want to try and get slightly better performance when we're looking at filters and things like that, and when we're say updating the cart, we don't want the whole page to reload. We want to try and build our Site Guru sort of our live updates API, which quickly refreshes just that layout to try and get a bit more better user experience as well. So yeah, we've tried to tie this together into a site template, which is still a little bit work in progress. There's a couple of rough edges. But we're nearly there now. We're about 95% there with what we're planning for the first phase. So, okay. So just like I think in the Wiggle site, we're looking at maybe designing the product list for you so that you could go in through a kind of mega menu. This isn't mega at the moment, but it's simply offering a couple of categories. So if I go through to the first category, we have a product list view, and this is using live updates. So our categories are just quickly refreshing this middle part of the page, whereas the user's choice stays in place. It's not refreshed, which allows a lot quicker user experience. All the sorting and everything works with the same live updates. We've added, this wasn't part of the soft UI, but we've added an extra plugin for a notification from Sweet Alert, which we think looks a lot nicer than the old alert box. And here's the cart. This is the bit that's the most work in progress, because we want this to work with live updates in terms of, we want when you change the quantity for it to just update this part of the cart very quickly, rather than needing to change the quantity, press the update cart button, refresh the page. We're trying to streamline that a little bit and get a better experience there. If we proceed to the checkout, with our checkout layout has a nice summary at the side, which is a cart layout embedded. The site builder can sort of, when you install a layout, it can install another layout inside it, essentially, where the layout is stored in a different place in the code editor, but the original layout contains the liquid to include the nested layout. So able to get that kind of hybrid layout, which looks quite nice. If I fill this out, I think I didn't quite get around to finishing this last night, but let's just see how close we get. And now it's the real test for me, is can I pass the H capture?
Yeah.
That is really a difficult one.
Do you need H capture on a if you're putting card details in? Surely that.
No, you don't need one here.
Yeah, I'm gonna say. I was worried there. Oh gosh, should we put H capture on? Is there a particular?
No,
reason?
you don't need to. It's just a little comedy moment for you. Yeah, and we've got an order confirmation layout, which also has the cart summary. And what I'm also working on is something that will allow you to show the case, the other property. So the shipping address that we provided should appear here as well, as built into the layout. So it should look at the case that was submitted to the form and loop over those fields, and it has different logic for each field type, so it should show them nicely there. We also have an orders page that if I'm logged in, I'll be able to see. I'm not currently logged in, so let's do that. Yeah, and then you can see the past orders layout, and if you click through to the details, it shows you this again. So this same layout is flexible. It works when you've just submitted the form, and it also works as the detail layout for clicking through from my orders. And I think that brings us to the end of the demo for now. We're not able to add, I think the one thing I'd like to do is have this as an email, but obviously email is a whole different kettle of fish. So we need to look separately at how to provide an email layout. But what we might do for now is just provide a simplified version of the liquid for this, so that you can add your own email design around it, if that makes sense. So yeah, open up to any questions or anything you wanted to return to. Anything you think I might have forgotten to show, let me know.
Yeah, I think the key thing for us that's actually quite useful, which I don't think we do, is your when you were in the cart and updating the quantities, and also the filtering. Obviously, these where you kind of just running the. Am I right in saying that, John? Just running the update on that row kind of automatically. That would be quite a good thing that we don't currently do in that.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's nice.
Yeah, so if your developers want to use the live updates API, there are docs for it, and if you search for Site Curious documentation, we've got the live updates API stuff here. Your developers might be able to use it yourselves without waiting for a layout to provide it.
Yeah,
Prime builders
the layouts. It's not a problem with the layouts. It's just the we haven't used that. That kind of thing.
And the layouts we provide can be like a good head start because it's like a working example, but you don't even need to, you can just just take one of your existing layouts, nothing to do with Site Builder, install the Site Builder module, and then follow these docs, and you can. Basically, the principle is it just reuses the code you already know to build a layout, and it just sends a GET request for you with all the filters in your page set up very simply, and it will just refresh that layout. It's like in React, you might re-render any component. It just sort of triggers a re-render on that Siteglide layout for you, which hopefully just makes it very simple. So this checkbox, for example, it is just a checkbox with the name of category and the value of the category that you need. And the JavaScript we provide just watches your page for any sort of normal HTML form elements and just refreshes the layout when it sees a change. You'll also notice there's an option to basically have it update the URL with those, which makes it shareable. You can turn that on and off. It doesn't actually refresh the page, it just pushes to the history API, which is quite a useful little feature. And you can have it basically so that if I do refresh the page, it will check that checkbox by just reading the URL and doing the value. So yeah, it's a really useful API. We've sort of built it because we wanted to make better layouts, and we needed something reusable that we could quickly plug into a layout without writing a huge load of JavaScript in each layout. So that's kind of why it exists, but you can use it yourself as well. One thing I didn't show you was the detail page. That's important. This detail page is essentially, it's got a choice of attributes, and we put the normal product image first, and then we've got the attribute images listed here. And I've just added a little bit of JavaScript so that when you change attribute, it just switches that image to the top, which is sort of a simplified version of what other sites do. It's not perfect because really it might switch like a whole load of images for another whole load of images, but I think it's quite a nice balance with what we can do at the moment.
Yeah, that's one of our works in progress, isn't it? Multiple attribute images, so we can we can control that better.
Yeah, so we'll come back to that. I mean, that will actually help Site Builder as well, because once we've got more core fields, we can build more into the layouts, and it will work on every site. Where custom fields are great for everything other than Site Builder, because we can't predict what custom fields people have got. So it limits us a little bit.
I think that is a great example of where I'm looking at this. Like, we want to improve the core product, but we also want to improve the implementation options. So these kind of templates and features, and we also want to hear your feedback and add the right functionality. So between those three things, we should end up with the right result. So yeah, that little bit there is just waiting on a Siteglide core feature that will then enable us to improve this, and will enable you guys to get a better end result.
Yeah, and on those kind of core features, it is just, I think a lot of it is just having the opportunity to select the right field, so it's easier for the for our clients to use the interface. But one of the other things that came up the other day is kind of just making all those elements kind of draggable. I think it was categories actually, in terms of reordering categories. Whether we could do that, I think that's what. But yeah, it's kind of having that and then making it kind of easily amendable, so that so they've got control to make the changes they need to make. So if colour's more important than size, they can shift that around in that order and allow people to select in that order.
Definitely, yeah. I'll make a note of that one actually.
That's nice. Thanks, Matt.
And the last thing to note is that in the cart, then once you've selected the attributes, it will show the correct attribute image. And I did mention as well as website success, at the moment I've had to just say I'll show the image for the first attribute that's picked. I haven't got an ability to, if there's multiple attributes picked, show multiple images at the moment. But depending on the site,
it's less important when you get to cart, isn't it?
I think oh yes, I see what you mean. Yes, if they're both, yes, I got you. Yeah.
Good. Okay. Thanks, Matt. Anybody else got any questions on this? If not, I'll jump into the topics that we've already discussed with website success, and then obviously add to that list as well. Anything before I do that? Just, yeah, there you go, Matt. Any questions? No. So when we went through the list with website success, I mean, we did that. Obviously, there was a bit of urgency there. We hadn't been quick enough since discussing some of it in the summer, and apologies on that. We obviously have worked on things like some fairly big things like user roles and the studio, but e-commerce now is very much a focal point. Doesn't mean we're not doing other things, obviously. We just want e-commerce to be one of the big ones. So the list we went through, I mean, just to sort of set the scene, John and Nick explained that they're winning quite a few, trying to migrate sites across from other platforms, and we have to be able to at least offer the standard kind of feature set that many platforms would have and many customers would expect. So I think it's as much features as it is UI management and client management of their e-commerce store at the back end. That's what you sort of just said, Nick, as well. So going through the list very quickly, one of the major ones was tax calculations. There's just some, it's been discussed before, some inconsistencies there when you have multiples of multiples. Essentially, if you're multiplying if you're calculating the tax and then multiplying the quantity, you get some rounding issues. So that's something that we have a solution for, and we're going to give you the option to choose when to round, basically, whether you do it on the unit, on the line, or on the basket. Any other sort of tax related questions that you have? Sorry, this one. Sorry, any other sort of tax related questions? We're going to talk about Stripe checkout shortly after this list, and obviously how Stripe handles tax, but anything specifically on calculating tax within Siteglide at the moment?
Well, the only other thing is, which I know is a nightmare with Business Catalyst, wasn't it? The assigning different tax rates to different countries at checkout. Again, there's no easy interface for that. So yeah, so for example, if it's a UK purchase, we want VAT on it. If it's European now, we don't. I think I'm right. So I get confused by the week, but you know, when things are being shipped around the world, it's then to remove the tax based on the shipping location, even though they've kind of added it into cart at that point. So that's the kind of next.
Well, let's deal with this topic then, because I think for us, a lot of it stems back to something like Stripe. Stripe is our chosen payment processor, and I think most people would agree, it's probably one of the best and most flexible ones to work with. So there's Stripe checkout and there's Stripe elements. We've to date got Stripe elements integrated, but within that, there's two different ways of doing it, and they brought out a more recent one. And the more recent one that we're moving to next would allow us to do things like Klarna, Apple Pay, and Google Pay as modular components that Stripe have already done. So rather than us having to like do it all from scratch, we're using Stripe and leveraging what they've done, but we're using their elements payments module, or I can't remember what it's called, but going that route. So we want to get the most out of what Stripe offer under Stripe elements first, because that's going to offer the most flexibility and integration within the product, and we're already halfway down the road on that. So it's going to help with a lot, but I don't think it's going to help with tax as a whole. And this is where, with different customers in different countries and different end customers in different countries, we're all going to have to make decisions. And Stripe currently, I think, will only offer help with tax, which they do incredibly well, under Stripe checkout, which is a sort of off-site experience. You can now embed Stripe checkout, and that's something we're going to be looking at doing soon. And I think that will be probably the right route for many sites, where you haven't got the budget to do fully custom work, and you want to have all the benefits of Stripe and not build all the functionality. So I think our next step after getting the sort of improved Stripe element features in would be to get Stripe checkout set up so that you can use that and you can embed it, which is the new feature they've just released. And then I think that's going to have to be our answer to complex tax issues. So especially US based tax, where you have
not even going to go
all
there.
the different. Yeah, exactly. I mean, that would be us just writing off all other development.
We've already said no to the client on that one. So just no.
But if we implement Stripe Checkout and you embed it using the new feature, you can give them a completely seamless experience and pass all of that responsibility, not just the technical, but the actual responsibility for the tax to Stripe. And that's well worth the customer paying for, I believe, to stay out of the tax side of things. So does that sound like a reasonable solution to the mainstream solution to tax, or complex tax, would you say?
Yeah, I think for those more complicated ones, yes. I mean, it was just useful to have a way that we can flag against countries that this has VAT, this doesn't. You know, simple as that, and effectively we kind of pass the issue to the client at that point. Yes, we can say VAT, non-VAT, but if you then want something really advanced, then yes, we've got that. It'd be great to have that route via Stripe. So yeah.
Have you tried using the eCommerce tax code changer, liquid include, and maybe adding some like JavaScript around it based on country?
I would answer that. I certainly haven't, but that's interesting to know. So what's it called?
I'll send that link to your channel, or should I put it on the
or put it in chat, whichever is easiest.
Put it in the chat here if you can, Matt, then we'll share it with everybody.
I've not personally used it, but it is a feature. I think in products you set a sort of default tax code per currency, but I think this can sort of change it, which could have been turning it off or switching to a 0%.
Yeah, so the currency changing against the currency, not a problem. It's when it's, you know, you have clients that they only want to work in GB pounds, for example, but they do ship overseas.
Yeah, I understand. I think that's why I mentioned there would be like a JavaScript component as well. So you potentially have this, but hidden, so invisible. And you could maybe have some JavaScript which saw that they had entered a certain country, and then you've got your own logic, and then you use this as the mechanism to actually change the active tax code in Siteglide based on what your JavaScript wants to do. That might be a short-term solution for you, obviously. And that's probably what this is kind of designed for, although I think this is designed for the user to actually change themselves, but I'm not sure.
Okay. We can hide that and
Yeah, I assume if the user does use it themselves, then the options you present to them are something a bit like what country are you from in the layout, rather than what tax would you like to pay. Take a look and
some people write something that is based on a country selector for shipping, then that will get us around that. Yeah.
Take a look and see if there's any limitations that we need to be aware of.
Yeah. We'll have a play and implement it and see what happens.
Great.
I've made some notes on that for our end anyway. Just what I remember, one thing I also meant to mention with the Stripe changes is with the new version of Stripe Elements we're using, I believe it also, well, it does include PayPal as an option. So for those of you that want to offer Stripe and PayPal, I believe you'll be able to do it just using Stripe. I can't get my head around how the fees or I think it's so that Stripe don't lose customers to PayPal. And I think they just do it without taking any extra fees, but it's obviously something we can look at once we've implemented or while we're implementing that new feature. It might just be relevant for those of you sort of thinking, well, I have to offer Google Pay, Apple Pay, and PayPal wallet effectively. You can do that just using Stripe going forward.
Yeah.
Right, so yes, tax, I think we'll leave that there unless anybody has any other questions or feedback. Probably all the hard ones out of the way. Yeah, go for it, Tim.
Discounts. That's my big topic, because I have a client and their shop, a client I would like to migrate to Siteglide, and their shop is heavy on discounts. And like one example of the challenges is like what we call an early bird discount. Like there are all other kinds of discounts I have to deal and combine, but this one explains it pretty well. So that client is selling courses. And if you book a course early, it's supposed to be cheaper. So the way I do it at the moment is basically with discount codes, a workaround with discount codes in the background. So there is a custom field on the product. It says it's cheap till like 31st of December. Then the user puts it in the shopping cart, goes to checkout. In the shopping cart, on the shopping cart view, some liquid which is looking at the current time and date and the time and date in the product for the early bird discount. It's calculating if it's applicable, and then it's some JavaScript in the background, picking one of 600 discount codes, which is fitting this amount. Because obviously you could have like more than this one product in a shopping cart, which also has a early bird discount or any other kind of discount. And it's adding up in the background, choosing the discount code and like pasting it into the discount code field hidden. So that's an awful workaround, because obviously you can't use discount codes anymore, like for users. So my ideal would be if there is any way to just have a e-commerce parameter on the shopping cart page where I can like set like overall discount. I can calculate that on liquid level. I have to say I'm completely new to Siteglide. I'm like, I don't know how this works yet, but as far as I've seen, there is no way to apply a discount other than the usual ones, like what we see on the product page, discount codes, gift vouchers, the usual stuff. Yeah, that I can't see this in any other shopping system actually. Like Shopify doesn't have it. But I think this kind of flexibility in building discounts around different kind of products, that would be great.
And do they have to put a code in for the discount?
No, what happens is like the user experience is I have a product, it's like discounted because I'm early. I go to the shopping cart and it's like applying the discount automatically in the background. They don't have to type any kind of discount code. Liquid is calculating if it's applicable, and it's setting a liquid variable in the background. And that variable is basically choosing the right discount code. That's a little trick, because the discount code name is basically having the discount in it. So I just do some string filtering things, right? And pasting that particular discount code by the name of the discount code. I mean, the system I'm on at the moment is like, I can just use the name of the discount code. I don't have to use the ID. I can use the name. And it's pasting it into the hidden discount code field, applies it like, and then I have my total like with a discount without the user actually seeing that what's happening.
So I think that's a really great idea for a feature. I'm also really impressed by your custom solution. I've done something similar. And I think maybe what you're looking for on the custom side is just a slight change, that instead of selecting from 600 pre-built discount codes, what I tend to do is use a GraphQL mutation to create the new discount code I want when I need it, and then apply it. So I will, let's say that my liquid has decided that this person should get a $99 discount, depending on multiple factors. I'll do a query to see, is there a discount code for £99 off? If not, create one. Either way, get me the ID and then put that in the field. And so no matter what sort of discount challenge there is for that site, I can sort of on demand give that discount. It's slightly easier, only that you don't have to create the 600 beforehand. It might be that only 10 end up getting made because the logic only dictates 10, but it might be that 600 get made. It's just you don't have to make them yourself necessarily.
That sounds great. That's
But
so you
so
can create discount codes on the fly with, as I'm saying, I'm new to Siteglide. On the platform at the moment, I can't do that.
yeah, so the GraphQL tutorials that I wrote many years ago on the Siteglide docs, what I think we need to do is add mutation documentation. In GraphQL, there's two main kinds. Queries, you find data, you get data, and mutations, you change or create or delete data. So you can do a record create mutation. You just need to put in the module ID of the module item you want to create, and then you put in the different properties that you want it to have. So you find the field of how much that discount code should be worth, and you put in the property number of how much that should cost. Yeah, so that's a skill to sort of build up if you're doing custom solutions, and sounds like that's the next step for you, but it's not for everybody. And so you probably do need a native solution as well.
Ah, fantastic. That sounds good.
I'll let you know when those docs are available.
Trying to link that back to, a native, easy to use solution. Tim, are you using Stripe for the payment side in this example, or?
This client would like to use Stripe, but as it doesn't offer bank transfer at the moment, like what Klarna would do, that's actually one of the problems with that client. And they're a little bit hesitant with credit cards for reasons.
Yeah.
They only use invoiced. So basically, clients at the moment are just paying by invoice.
Right. Okay. Yeah. This is a tricky thing because we can leverage Stripe's discount code functionality, and they handle loads of great things about making them expire and that kind of stuff. But you also need the native version for when you're not using that. So, okay. I just thought I'd ask because we're trying to cover everything really. I think if we pick Stripe, we have already a long time ago picked Stripe as our main payment gateway, and I think we'll make a solution that leverages Stripe as much as possible, and then we'll always still have this sort of more native, bespoke, fully customizable offering as well.
Oh.
The balance is trying to work out who we make which one for, like how easy to use does the native one end up being, because some stuff, like some of the stuff we were just discussing there, is very custom, and you want to make them on the fly. I don't know whether we would make that as something that's easy for a non-developer to do. That's the kind of stuff we need to work through, I guess. But yeah, our rule, I always want to make sure it's not an excuse, but our rule is always try and make things possible first. So at least we can enable you to do it, and with GraphQL and Liquid and everything. And then ideally, we can also make it really easy to do it and quick to do it later.
I was hoping that GraphQL is having some tricks for me there. So I'm already happier than before.
Good. Yeah. I mean, you said you're new to Siteglide, but we'll help you with that learning curve, and Matt's a great help for that as well. So just ask away either in Discord or wherever. Cool. Okay, so there was actually one discount code related question from Website Success, which I'll just mention. It is on the roadmap. It's being able to apply discount codes to specific products. And the solution that we came up with there was showing categories and let people choose which to apply the code to. So doing it at a category level. And then, I don't think we needed to drill down to product level. I think we agreed. Nick,
I think the categories was far enough. And then the fact the array was already on the discount thing and it didn't do anything, I think that was the annoyance more than anything else, that confused people. I think, well, I've ticked the box, so surely it should just apply. So that doesn't work.
Yeah, so I don't think this helps your one, Tim, because it's a bit more custom. But being able to link products to a category could help you at least with the automatic applying of discount codes and not needing people to type them in.
Yeah, I
Anything
think
else?
Tim was saying will probably lead into gift vouchers and voucher codes and all kinds of that side of things, which was another thing that we were talking about.
Yeah, exactly. I'll come on to that one next then, unless anybody has any questions, any further sort of issues or questions with discount codes.
One interesting thing, I've got a couple of sites where they sell things like retreats and memberships. So got a couple of problems. We get around it because we just create more products, which is annoying. But there's some cases where they actually build the product based on the attributes. So you need to start with a zero value product, which looks sort of stupid. So it'd be good to be able to, choose the product. You're building the product. So you say, I want this, this, and this, and that's that price, because there isn't a base price. Is there a way around that? I'm not sure, a way to code around it, or is it something that would need to be altered?
To just hide the product value until there's a price, do you mean? Just hide zero?
I thought I tried that and it didn't work, but maybe that was me. I'll have a look at that again. But yeah, at the moment I'm just displaying zero, and then they'll go and choose whatever attributes. Yeah, which is why I was talking to you about that quantity, the quantity for attributes as well. Yeah.
Yes.
So it sounds like something that should work in Liquid. There is one little tiny weird thing about Liquid, which was if you just say that should work. You should be able to say if this field does not equal zero, show it. Sometimes you need to say something like blank because if you just ask if this field it says, well, there's a lovely empty string in there, so that's truthy, let's show it. But I think for zero, exclamation mark equal does not equal zero should do it for you.
I'll try again, and if I can't get it to work, I'll get back to you.
Yeah, you can always sort of send SiteGurus a message as well if you want them to take a look at a specific file and do a quick 5-minute job for you.
Great.
That's fine.
Good.
Cool.
Oh, and that's the other one. Sorry. And again, I'm not sure whether I've missed something, but I've got one site that needs now a secure zone. I've actually got one already, but we just put up with it, where we don't want them to get secure zone the secure zone access activated until they're paid. Is there a way to do that? At the moment, we are making them join the secure zone first, and then signing up to the secure zone, then we make them pay, which means sometimes they don't pay, so then we've got to go and get rid of the ones that haven't paid.
So secure zone access would be on each form, right? So what I don't know how you've got the form set up, but what I might do is have two forms. One is the payment form, which gives access to the secure zone you're talking about. But if you need them to have like just a more generic secure zone to start with, you could have your sign up form give them access to an account secure zone. So you have two different forms giving access to two different levels. Right. Does that work?
That would work. Yeah, that'd be better. Yeah. Good, thank you.
That's what I was thinking, and I think there's quite a lot of use cases where you would have multi-level secure zones. So that's
it won't matter. They can just be because I basically subscribe anyway, so then they can have a nothing secure zone, really. Yeah. Good.
Cool. Okay, just jumping on to gift vouchers then, which does follow on nicely from discount codes. It's one we wanted to do, and we were asked to do many times during sort of BC end of life migrations, but for some reason or another, everything else was more important. So definitely want to do it. I think we're pretty clear on what we need to do. I'm just looking at my notes. Does anybody have any particular points on that they want to raise?
No, just that they're annoying and everybody wants them, but very few people actually use them when they've got them. So it's just like, it's just annoying. We've got clients at the moment, we need to lift over our part used gift vouchers. No, you don't. Anyway, there we are.
So the notes I've got are just that allow people to buy a gift voucher and be able to give it to a specific user. And we're pretty clear on what's required. I think the only other discussion point we had was whether allowing people to actually buy the gift voucher from the front end websites. So
Yeah.
lots of ways that could be done, but yeah, sort of basic payment form maybe.
Yeah, and it's just annoying when you get that part used gift voucher as well, where it's a £10 gift voucher and the product they buy is £5.99, and it's like, oh god, we've got to then store a remaining gift voucher amount. So yeah, it just becomes more complicated than you ever want it to be. Such a underutilized item in most cases. I'm sure there are businesses that use tons of the things, but yeah.
I think you just said exactly why we never did it. But yeah, exactly. It needs to be done.
Yeah, when we were pressed, it was suddenly not as important as anything else.
Yeah.
In fact, everything else was more important.
Sorry, Liz, I'm not sure if you were going to jump in.
No, sorry.
No.
Must make
No I'm just thinking what the most relevant next one would be. Probably creating. No, you just had a general discussion on creating new payment gateways. I think with bringing in Klarna and the new Stripe model, hopefully that's going to solve a lot of those. But if you did want a competitor Klarna or something like that, then at the moment it's a case of you have total control to kind of do your own payment gateway integrations. I think we would just try and encourage you to steer away from it if you don't need to, because you've got to. Yeah, it's just
having those options. Obviously, PayPal.
Yeah.
It's fine. Stripe does most things, but you get the Klarna in, and after that, you could kind of say, "Well, yeah, we don't deal with that one. We deal with that one. It does what you want, and that's fine."
Yeah,
the only change might come when you've got big turnover businesses that use a particular gateway because they've got 0.8% with their bank or something like that, and it does start. That does make a difference to them. So.
Well, I mean, that's fine though, and you can do it. It's got to be worth the time. I guess
that's it. And if you've got the big volume, you can afford to pay for the integration, can't you?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Okay. Next one up would probably be. Let's deal with. Well, you mentioned abandoned cart notifications, but that was low priority. I think it's a nice feature to have, but there's probably some more urgent ones to discuss, I guess. There's probably things that you could do already with automations that could be done, but I think unless we get more urgency for that, obviously we'll focus on the more functionality related ones first.
And actually once we've got link in there, so when we talk about Stripe, the link option is that's one of the ones you were discussing, because of course if you're using link, then you get a different sign-in process into links. So you've got much more chance of identifying the customer. So I haven't looked at it, but there's every chance we'll be able to do that abandoned cart via link in actual fact.
That's a very good point.
So we'll look at that once that's once we reach that stage.
That's really interesting, because you mentioned Shopify might know who they are from the other sites, but link might give us
if they're
same
using
data.
the shop pay, then they've got that information which we don't have, but link gives us a much better fighting chance of finding that information, shall we say.
Okay. Next one up is probably multiple attributes in general, but multiple images on attributes. I think, Matt, you demoed that earlier, so that's on the roadmap, and the solution was actually, the solution here is interesting. It'd be great to double check we've got this right, but we're thinking image array field, but also a custom fields, a description field as well. So image array and a description field, so that you can put some wording against each image. Anything else that is worth mentioning on multiple images for attributes?
And I think there was a question about, is that on the attribute option or the attribute? And I think that we assumed that it was on the option that was most important.
Well, no, it'd be the attribute, because of course, if you want to show 3 different pictures of the blue shirt, then having it on color isn't going to work for us. So
I think that's what I was saying. The option is the blue and the attribute is the color. So our assumption was the most useful place is on the option.
Absolutely.
Not harm to have it on the attribute as an option as well. Oh, sorry, on the attribute as well.
Yeah, but definitely,
Yeah.
I can't think of a use case where we'd need more than one on the attribute. But yeah, it's definitely the option.
Great. We talked about custom fields and attributes, but I think we all agreed on that call at least that that's not necessary. Does anybody have any other use cases for more than just image and description on attributes? I think we'll probably leave it there then, and obviously if people do need custom fields, we can look at adding that in. Next one up on attributes was attribute combinations. This is quite a nice feature actually that Nick and John, you've highlighted from Shopify specifically in this case, just being able to sort of pre-create, dynamically create attribute combinations from different products and attributes. So a t-shirt with large red t-shirt being made automatically. Have I explained that well enough, do you think, Nick?
Yeah, so if we've got red, white, and blue, and small, medium, and large, it will then create the 9 different variations of that automatically, which we can then add the images to. But yeah, it kind of creates them from the attributes we've put in.
Yeah. So something we're looking at just to obviously that saves a bit of time and make sure it's correct. So yeah. Any comments there? Any feedback?
Yeah, just that we might then need a obviously if it's creating those, just being able to delete an individual one, because if they don't have a large in red, for example, that we
can
of
course
either disable
it. Probably disable button would probably be better than
yeah,
because we won't get it back otherwise maybe.
Yeah.
The only thing to mention there that we did discuss, and for everybody else, is usage. You're effectively, maybe there's a button to say create them or something like that, so you don't have them created if you don't want them. And if there's only disable, then it's not actually going to delete it. So just if usage is relevant for people, then we'll try and be careful there.
It's a lot neater than option, so it's a lot less use than what we have to do currently. So
yeah, sure. Okay, and I think we're getting close to the end of that list. So dimensions and weights for shipping. We had 2 roadmap items for those. I can't remember if we actually needed to do anything on this one. Did you guys go and look into that maybe? Sorry, I can't quite remember.
But yeah, I mean, we have a very, very complicated solution in place for one client that involves a shed load of calculations and
yeah. I think the calculations are the calculations. I think it's more a case of having the fields kind of all, rather than us having to put a custom field in for weight. If there was, again, a bit like we were discussing earlier, having a tab for weight and dimensions for shipping, or a shipping tab where you can fill those in, because there is really, it's going to be weight, length, breadth, and height, the 3 things. So if we just had a field where we could put those in, that we don't then had to create a custom, and of course the other thing within custom fields is almost the ability, which would be lovely and a lot further down the line, but the ability for us to segment those. So where we've got 10 poplar images on an item, and then we've got 3 features, it's all together in one long list on that custom field, which isn't the end of the world, but it would be nice just to decide, do you know what, for this customer, it'd be nice to either break them up somehow within there, or maybe tabs within tabs, or just to be able to categorize them. So that's just
does that link with the first. Sorry, does that link with the first thing you mentioned about
filtering?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, obviously within filtering, because just having just from our customer's point of view, of having the back end interface that they just go to. These are where I go to my filters. This is where I go for my shipping details. This is where I go for the poplar images. Just see, if we had the ability to create multiple tabs ourselves, which probably comes back to where BC was heading before it headed downhill in terms of being able to customize the interface a little bit. on the back end for people, and it's just it's nothing we can't. We can do all the technicals, we can put the fields in. It's just making it that bit friendlier for their particular use case.
Yeah, and they make sense as default things. I think we
get the functionality in first.
Yeah,
the visualization can obviously come later.
it's a weird one. We were always very careful about adding bulk to e-commerce that didn't need to be there, and I think maybe we went a bit too lean. But we could easily have added those fields in at the beginning, but we didn't want to force things that perhaps weren't needed, which is where custom field sets came from, and then that obviously isn't right in every case. So yeah, I think just these kind of tweaks is good to get right.
Yeah, cool.
Okay. Next up was order status drop down. So a really simple one here, rather than being able to just type it in and get it wrong, the ability to set it as a drop down. I think that makes total sense. And then via code, you can customize that further if you want to.
Yes, if that can be a priority in the next week, that'd be lovely, because we're going to say this site that's about to go live, we do need that for. We're kind of hoping it's racing its way.
We had a different list from you of which one's most urgent.
Our priorities change week to week, you know that.
It's John's list, it's my list.
Yeah, we might need a chat about that separately then. But just to let you know, we've focused on the sort of Stripe moving to the more flexible one on Stripe Elements. So Klarna is in the works for anybody that's needing that soon, and that will also open up Apple Pay, Google Pay, and some others.
Yeah, we've worked around that, haven't we?
Yeah,
Apple Pay, Google Pay, we've worked out, but but Klarna.
But Klarna, exactly. But at least then, sorry, go for it.
Can I drop in a question? Order statuses. Can I create my own order statuses and attach automation to it? Is that a thing yet?
Yeah, that's what
exactly
we're talking about. So go on. Sorry.
You probably know better.
Yeah, we currently put them in, but the difficulty we've got at the moment is we can't lock them down in a drop-down list, so we can put in our own order statuses, but then the client has to type them in, which is crazy. So the job that we need to do that hopefully Siteglide can do fairly quickly is allow us to create them, but then there are drop-down lists rather than anything else, because if they mistype something, it doesn't fire the automation. So yeah,
we use GraphQL for that. For when the order status changes, it sees that it's changed, and then it fires the automation off to send the order status off to the customer with using their order email address. And obviously, we also use that to update the inventory as well, because if it's a quote, so if you've got a quote form, then it doesn't automatically take the inventory out because it hasn't actually ordered and put the sale through. So as soon as it changes to order complete, it then alters the inventory as well, so the inventory drops on the product.
Yeah, we'll connect with you, Tillman, and share how we do that. And yeah, we just need that field.
Yeah, we'll get Jay to talk to you about it.
Great.
Just to clarify, the order status drop downs, we discussed putting it within e-commerce settings, so that within here you can control what drop down options there would be. So this might be something that your customer never sees. You control it in here, and then within the product, within the order, they would be able to pick from the settings that you've set up here. A bit like it'll be put away in the settings area. Good. What else did we have? Admin list of sort of bulk changes in admin. So in the list of items, being able to do bulk disable, enable, add to category, that kind of stuff. These are kind of things we've wanted to do. Obviously, we want to make UX, make it quicker and easier to do everything. So pretty self-explanatory ones there. I think now that we've done the UI design changes, it's nicely opened up the door for looking at some global and specific UX changes. Anything on that topic? That's a big topic, but anything specifically, any real frustrations, UX wise or data management wise on e-commerce, I guess? Okay, well, always if you think of one, put it into roadmap. I think that was pretty much everything from the list. The only other one was sort of importing and exporting existing orders from other sites, other platforms if you're doing a site migration. But the solution there really is just doing import on orders, so allowing you to import orders via CSV makes the most sense.
Yep.
That's a fairly simple one.
Yeah.
You can export, you can't import, so yeah, we'll fix that. But yeah, open floor. I guess any specific e-commerce either challenges, feature requests, ideas, successes, whatever you'd like to talk about, really.
Yeah.
No, nothing really, but yeah, I think once we get these last few things, I'm going to start hunting e-commerce sites down and kind of
Good.
going after Shopify and WooCommerce clients who are having a WooCommerce nightmare.
We did manage to build an API into the Royal Mail to do shipping.
Oh yes, yeah.
Which was which was.
I was surprised how quickly the guys did that.
It literally took us an hour. It was amazing.
Yeah. So.
Wow. But was their API quite good, or?
Yeah, really simple. Docs are really good. Really simple to get your head around what you need. There's different elements to it. You only need one part of it.
Very surprising for a British institution that the docs were good and the integration was easy. I mean, what's going on there? If we're in Germany, then we'd expect it to be perfect, but in the UK, it doesn't. It doesn't work like that, Tillman.
Things have changed, guys.
Really?
The only issue we had is with the integration with the API integration we've got into our we got a thing called SyncSpider. Pulls the order form through from the form fill. It doesn't actually pull the order. So
one thing we need to do is we want to do more with SyncSpider actually and get more kind of API connections into SyncSpider, because it's just a much cheaper version of Zapier for us. So yeah,
and it does sync as well, doesn't it? Hence the name.
Mm.
Yeah, you can set it to go every half an hour, on the hour, every minute if you want, every 2 hours.
Worked out how to I think you can trigger it on an action happening even.
Yeah, you can do.
Yeah. So yeah.
Do they have a decent number of integrations now? Or?
Yeah, I think so. I looked the other day.
Compare with Zapier, but it has the ability to kind of add your own effectively. So subject to how complicated they are, you can, and your skill set, you can build your own, which is kind of where we got the part way with the kind of Siteglide. So we got the form cases into place, but we didn't do the full e-commerce because actually at that time just having cases was enough. So
yeah. Okay.
Yeah. It's very much targeted to e-commerce rather than kind of B2B or anything like that. But yeah, it does.
There's 100 connections on there. So
yeah. Is it only export at the moment? Sorry, I probably should keep up with it. There's so much going on. Can you get data in?
At the time, we can do. Obviously, we can pull things in. It's just a case of resource to kind of build the connections. So, in fact, I think when we did that originally, we paid SyncSpider to do it, just because we needed it for a particular client who had big volumes of stuff going through. So
yeah.
So yeah,
I did speak with them a while back around that time, I think, about doing more with them. So we could look at it again. There's another one that contacted us recently wanting to integrate and set up. So yeah, obviously it's just really use case.
Is that of interest?
I will get the name quickly if I can.
Yeah, there's a few more coming online. There's active pieces that have come through. But yeah, it's
I'll let you know if I find. Well, I will find it, but I'll let you know when I do.
Fantastic.
It wasn't made. I think that's a pretty big one now. Integromat, I think they would used to be called.
That's it, yeah,
Um,
make changes.
I'll quickly find it. That's annoying.
In the email somewhere.
Yeah. Yeah, don't worry. Anything else that anybody wanted to raise? I'm just trying to find this one. Let you guys have a think of anything. What else did we want to bring up quickly? Matt, was there anything else you wanted to mention or any ideas?
I just shared with Tillman on Discord an example of the graphical mutation creating the discount code. I was going to share it on the chat, but it was too big. But if anyone else wants to look at that, let me know.
Yeah, can you stick it on ours as well, please?
Yeah, or just in an
Or
open
just an
channel.
open
on
channel
there,
would be fine.
yeah. Everyone said.
That'd be awesome.
Put it in the town hall channel, maybe, Luke. Or
What? Sorry, I was still finding that link.
Either no, in the developers channel or the
developers makes sense, yeah, because there's more developer focus. Yeah, good idea.
Yeah.
I did actually find it, Nick. It was Integrately.
Integrately.
Yeah, 1100
Try that
plus
one.
connections apparently. I'll pull it up on the screen.
Okay.
Not sure if we'll do it, but if there was a demand or a need, then we could do.
Right. Oh, they were asking you to do all the work, were they?
No, they're offering to do it. We would
Okay.
just have to. I think we need to expand the API a tiny bit, which we want to do anyway. But yeah, it'd be good to do. It's just whether people are going to use it.
Yeah, I'll have a look and see what I think of it and let you know.
Sure. Yeah, sounds good. Okay. So just what I meant to mention, I think I mentioned it last time, but what Matt showed earlier with the sort of live updates API and all the new e-commerce layouts, that's soon going to become a new demo site to replace the very, very, very old one now that we have. So that will be a Bootstrap 5 demo site with e-commerce. There will be templates available for that as well. So a one-click site setup from Marketplace where you can just get started with e-commerce. And we'll then do exactly the same for Flowbytes, either waiting for their much awaited, long awaited e-commerce layouts, which are apparently coming before holidays, or we'll just get on with it and basically do our own versions, which I can see that one probably being quite likely. But yeah, if there's any urgency on that, let us know. But I think you guys, at least John and Nick, you're going to just take the logic and the API side probably, and not need the layout specifically. But would it be helpful, do you think, to have that as a starting point, or do you not tend to start from our Flowbyte template?
No, we tend to. The designer sits there and gets his crayons out and draws a picture. But I mean, essentially, they work to a tailwind.
Dan and his crayons, none of this Figma stuff or Photoshop or it's crayons.
I guess it depends. Like, there's two approaches, right? Where you would start with design first and then add liquid in, or start with liquid and add design in.
Yeah, and from that point of view, the latter would definitely work for us. Yeah,
because I think when you've just got a little bit of liquid, it can sometimes be quicker to add the liquid into the design and get the design perfect first. And people that often are less confident might do that because they save until last because they're scared of the liquid. But now we've got like so much liquid in some of these e-commerce layouts and also some JavaScript like live updates and stuff. Actually, I think it becomes even more beneficial to go with add the design in last, because especially with Tailwind, it's so easy to find all those Tailwind classes, change them out for your design, and the functionality is just going to work, and you don't have to build the functionality. You can then just edit it.
Yeah,
that's just a different approach that you could consider, but it's totally what works for you. And also, one thing I might not have mentioned is in that demo site, like every layout is in the demo site, but it also exists in its own right in Site Builder. So you should be able to if you don't have to install the whole site in order to just get that layout as a starting point. You can just install that one layout and then edit it.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's cool.
Oh, good. So that was a question I was thinking too, because having used Bootstrap for all my sites, there's some I can see beneficial now to use the new soft UI eCommerce, just add the eCommerce, so that could be done, not have to and change the rest of the site later.
Oh, so soft UI is actually built in Bootstrap, so that's actually going to suit you very nicely.
I've already used it. The site's about to go live, so yeah.
Yeah, great. So sorry, the question was.
Yes, I've got Bootstrap sites already, but I can see an advantage in flicking out to the new eCommerce because it just looks so much better. So I'd want to just add the eCommerce, it will replace the existing eCommerce with the new soft UI template would be handy, but that should be doable. But maybe a thought that you could just add the e-commerce module to a site rather than the whole site.
Definitely.
So if the site's using Bootstrap 5, it's going to be even easier. The actual soft UI sort of theme adds a little bit on top of Bootstrap, but actually it looks pretty good if you just take soft UI bits out and just plain Bootstrap. But you're going to need to like go on a site copy and check where it looks bad, where there's something missing. Yeah, it would be, that would probably work quite well.
Yeah, I can see the advantage in moving through all those sites first up and just getting the e-commerce switched over. That would be brilliant.
Yeah, if it helps, the way we've done it is to try and allow you to mix things together is probably not the right way of saying it, but because everything's template based. Yeah. So because everything's run off Siteglide page templates, you can install Flowbytes if you wanted to and run that on the same site separately. But assuming you install the Bootstrap e-commerce, well, install e-commerce module, add in a soft UI e-commerce layout, that's going to run on a certain page template. Then all you really need to do is see what it looks like when you try and apply your other Bootstrap CSS and styling to the soft UI one and just see how you get on, I would have thought. Is that correct, Matt? But
yeah,
sorry,
exactly.
The main point I want to make is that you're not overwriting stuff. You're not having to like merge things unless you want to. You can have both running separately, and then it's totally up to you how you kind of merge the two together.
Absolutely. I mean, from what Luke says, like if you were to use Stripe checkout, you'd already be going to Stripe for the checkout page anyway. It might look a little bit different. So if in the short term you just wanted to load up our checkout form with a different page template using SoftUI, that might look quite natural in the short term. And then when you get time, you can make it more consistent with the rest of your design. That's an option.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Yeah, good.
Great. I'm conscious of time for everybody. Any sort of real pressing, like we really want to get e-commerce right. And yeah, if there's anything else that's, I mean, I like what you said, Nick, about once that's in place, you want to be able to go out and take on the other platforms. That's what we want to hear, and we want to help with it. So is there anything else that you think is a real sort of killer feature? I mean, one thing that springs to mind is automations. We'd love to make that more and more powerful, and I'd hopefully come up with sort of some USPs that make it stand out from other platforms. But anything else worth mentioning, do you think?
Yeah, that'll do for now. We don't want to overwhelm. If we get those things done by Boxing Day,
tomorrow,
done by Christmas, something like the second.
Cool. Yeah, no, that's great.
Okay. Yeah, well, this is the first one we've run. Keen to do more of these on different topics and just generally sort of spend some time talking about the product. So hopefully it was useful. We are very happy to like literally dive into a specific issue in future as well if people want and people value that. So have a think about it and just bring any questions to the meetings. But if everyone's happy for now, we can leave it there if you like.
Yeah, fantastic.
Well, I hope you all have a really nice break. I know it seems a bit early to be talking about that, but we want to do it this week. We thought we'll probably get a bit crazy from next week onwards.
It's not early. It just feels like it should be September still.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. There we are.
Yeah, well, I'm sure I'll speak to many of you in the next few weeks anyway, especially about e-commerce updates. But
Yeah.
yeah, hope you all actually have some time off and enjoy Christmas and New Year.
Yeah. Have a good Christmas. We'll see you on the other side.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks everybody. Speak soon.
Lovely. Thanks
Hello.
everyone.
Cheers.
Thanks.
Right.
Thanks.
Bye bye.
Bye.